Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are just around the corner, and just recently, the Pokemon Company has confirmed that all Pokemon will be able to have any Tera type. So with that in mind, I thought it was time to take a look at how Terastalization is going to work in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Terastalization is the new mechanic replacing the Dynamax mechanic from Sword and Shield in the upcoming Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. How it works is each Pokemon in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet will have a Tera type. Each battle, you will have the option of choosing one of your Pokemon to Terastalize. Once Terastalized, a Pokemon will retain its previous stab bonus, which causes them to deal additional damage with moves of their type, in addition to gaining a stab bonus for their Tera type. Pokemon which Terastalize into a type that they already have will gain additional damage for that type, on top of their regular stab bonus. This bonus amount is unknown, but could increase the stab bonus anywhere from 25%, or a total of 175%, to the full 50%, or 225%. I think the most likely amount will match up with the ability, adaptability, and see the total bonus at around 200%. I thought I heard somewhere that the Pokemon will remain Terastalized if you switch it out and back in, but I can't seem to find a reliable source saying this, so for now it's best to assume that if the Pokemon is switched out, you will lose the Terastal Effect, which is likely for the best. However, unlike Dynamax, Terastalization will definitely last indefinitely otherwise, which will allow considerable flexibility and allow it to be used to great effect both offensively and defensively. Now that we know that any Pokemon can have any Tera type, it really opens the doors for what we can actually expect in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Personally, I think Steel Tera type Hydreigon is going to be extremely powerful, taking advantage of its Levitate ability to negate the Steel type's ground weakness, and flipping the table on opposing Ice, Fairy, and Dragon type Pokemon. Gyarados with the ground type will be a serious contender as well, gaining immunity to the electric type, and threatening ground type Tera Blast or Stab Earthquake damage will be quite the threat, especially paired with the Moxie ability. Alternatively, you could opt to Terastalize a Pokemon whose Tera type matches their existing type for even more stab damage. A good, and by good I mean terrifying, Pokemon to use this strategy would be Torkoal with the Fire Tera type. This mechanic is going to be tricky, as any Pokemon could change into any type. Pokemon such as Gyarados, Hydreigon, and Tyranitar with their 4x weaknesses will be risky to capitalize on, as your opponent could opt to Terastalize and flip the script on you. At the same time, the ability to double down on stab damage and choose a Tera type which matches one of your regular types and threatening high general damage cannot be ignored. Fast Pokemon such as Jolteon or Gengar, Pokemon with powerful spread moves like Sylveon or Torkoal, and Pokemon with access to priority moves like Scizor or Honchkrow, all of these Pokemon are going to be very scary to face off against Terastalized. Terastalizing offers a really nice option for Pokemon like Ampharos which struggle with coverage moves. The new move Tera Blast appears to be learnable by all Pokemon, similar to Hidden Power, and will match its type to your Tera type upon Terastalizing. In addition, it will change to either a physical move or a special move depending on which stat is higher. This opens the door for surprise coverage moves on another level than we experienced in Sword and Shield, with moves like Mudshot becoming Max Quake. Instead, the Pokemon won't need to know a move of that type at all. On paper, the mechanic seems to lend itself more towards a defensive playstyle, as Terastalization seems to ultimately be more of a surprise factor mechanic than anything else, and being caught out by this mechanic could be devastating. Terastalizing into your existing type is the wild card here in my opinion. This is extremely scary as we don't yet know the real amount, and certain Pokemon already deal extreme damage without an additional boost to their damage. We're also losing access to the Dynamax mechanic, which means we can no longer double the HP of one of our Pokemon to critically survive an extremely powerful attack. In case you hadn't caught on, Torkoal is really giving me a bad feeling here. As the game goes on, no doubt trends will appear with certain Pokemon usually having a certain Tera type, and certain Pokemon being Terastalized more than others, so you will be able to use this information to make predictions on what your opponent will do and then act accordingly. The best part about this mechanic in my eyes is the doors it opens up. So many Pokemon are going to have many opportunities to be competitive, and that is very exciting. It also continues the trend of dynamic and versatile decision making, allowing any Pokemon on your team to Terastalize, just like Dynamax. This is great as it allows for creative problem solving in the middle of the match, which is fantastic. My main concern with this mechanic is the time it will take to build a VGC team in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Pokemon Sword and Shield brought many ways to speed up the process, which is really important for players like myself, which do not want to cheat in order to get their VGC teams or online laddering and competition. Allowing any Pokemon to have any Tera type means on top of breeding Pokemon for perfect IVs and having the correct nature, ability, and egg moves if necessary, a Pokemon will need to have the correct Tera type. There are 18 types, which effectively will increase the time it takes to get the Pokemon you're after by up to 1700%. Yeah. So my hope is that they are way ahead of me here and there is a super easy way to manually change a Pokemon's Tera type, similar to Hyper Training or the Nature Mints in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Although that would somewhat defeat the purpose of the rare Tera type Pokemon raids they showcased in one of their gameplay trailers. So either this feature will have to be unlocked in the endgame somehow, it will be difficult or expensive to acquire these items, or it won't exist at all. If it's going to take 17 times longer to make a team, the incentive for people to cheat and just hack the game to build their in-game teams is going to be much greater. And to be honest, I'm not sure I could really blame them at that point.